Ashvini, it's Christy. Together we lead the product management for Power Automate. Thank you for being here. We're excited about you being here. We're excited to show you what the team has been hard at work on for a few months now. You got previews of that this morning as well. Fingers crossed, we'll spend most of our time on working demos. So this is essentially, before I jump in, from pro devs, what we usually hear is everybody has too much on their plate, and low code has a place to play in their toolbox. And being able to use low code, whether it's building Power Apps, whether it's building Power Automate, whether building Copilots as well, really helps them use the right tool for the need. So for Copilot, I think this is what Charles covered a little bit, just from a context perspective, and I'll go through this very quickly because if you were in the previous session, you heard him talk about it. Last year was, at least for Microsoft, it was a watershed moment where we introduced various capabilities in Copilot with the goal of helping you get value out of generative AI. And there are three scenarios that really worked well for summarization, for generating content, and for searching, where Copilot did great initial value, and that'll continue. This year we'll make it even more capable of connecting to new sources, of summarizing more information, of being able to generate deeper content as well. In addition to that, this year we'll be defining for this notion of agents, whether it's teams that are working together, whether it is autonomous agents that are working on your behalf. Essentially the shift from Copilot assisted experiences to Copilot being autonomous. That is, you can rely on Copilot to do some of your work as well. So what we have is this notion of Copilot automation, which is where it can be independent and be proactive, can listen to events. You saw this morning during Scott's keynote as well, where Ray showed triggers and how it could listen in onto different sources of events or data changes happening, and acting on behalf of teams and companies and organizations, really. That's where you'll see Copilot taking more and more this year. Now, you heard a lot about Copilot Studio, and really Copilot Studio and Power Automate together are just peanut butter and jelly. There's a great combination together where you can have all these knowledge sources, the ability for Copilot to reason over interactive chats or autonomous capabilities, autonomous agents, and fueled by the deep actions layer, which is in Power Automate, to be able to do cloud automation, desktop automation, and we'll show you new types of automations as well. So they're designed to be better together. So if you have a business process for device returns, if you have a business process for expense returns or claims processing, being able to wire that up inside for a Copilot to be able to reason over that. So they are designed to be better together. This session will talk about Power Automate specifically. Yeah, so for the Power Automate, really there are three topics we'll cover, and I think that's enough slides, hopefully. The first we'll talk about is authoring with AI and how are we simplifying the experiences of authoring your automations with AI. Second, once you have all these automations out in the wild, how do you control them? How do you observe what's happening? How do you manage your automation estate? And then third, two new capabilities that we are launching at this build with early adopter program. So with that, let's switch to the machines. And actually, in the room itself, how many folks have used Copilot with Power Automate? Thank you. Most of you are in the front for some reason. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. For those that haven't used Power Automate Copilot yet, let me just go do a very quick 1-minute introduction. So really what Copilot in Power Automate allows you to do is to express the job that you want it to go do. And it understands in natural language what you want it to do and generates a scaffolding for you. So let me go through here and I say, look, this is a dev audience. So whenever I pull request is created in Visual Studio, use my organization information and the title contains urgent, post a message on Teams conversation. Yeah, so that's a very straightforward scenario from a developer perspective. Now what we're doing here is we have a fine-tuned model, a combination of fine-tuned model and GPT-based experiences to be able to take that natural language sentence and give you the initial scaffolding to say, okay, great. When a pull request is created in Azure DevOps, I can go through and based on the condition, it goes off and sends a message in Teams and guides me through the process of connecting to the different services and lands me in the designer itself to say, okay, great, here's a starting point for your flow, and go ahead and inspect your flows and set up the parameters for different conditions. I can continue my discussion with Copilot on the side, and I can say, look for the generated summary, start an approval, and assign it to me, and only send an email after I approve. So that's another example where I can continue to converse with Copilot as an assisted experience, where it's taking a look at the flow definition, it's taking a look at what I've asked it to go do, and in this case, it's making changes to my automation itself. And here, what it's saying is, when a pull request is submitted, create an approval, wait for an approval. When the approval is approved, then go off and post a message on Teams. Yeah, so that's a very simple, straightforward experience. It just rapidly helps people build a lot more automations a lot faster because it's able to translate what they want into the right flow definition itself. Now, a lot of folks, when they come to Power Automate, don't know what to build. Yeah, so if you know what to build and how to express it, then it's fine. You can go build it, and that's what I just showed. So what we're announcing today is the ability for you to go and essentially get recommendations for automations that are specific to you. Yeah, so we can't wait for you to try these out when you go to Power Automate yourself as this rolls out. And really, this is using our process mining capabilities that are also part of Power Automate. For those not familiar, Power Automate has rich process mining and task mining capabilities that allow you to understand how work is happening across your organization, visualize it, and then optimize it using process mining. So what we've done is, for a lot of folks that are using Microsoft 365, what we're feeding it is your invites or your emails or your documents in OneDrive, and asking Power Automate to generate suggestions for automations that hopefully are relevant to you. So in this case, right at the homepage, what I see is, let me just zoom in, are these recommendations at the top, which are two of these recommendations: streamline invoice processing, ensure timely claims reviews, because it's now looked over my what I'm doing, the work that I'm doing. And it's now, when I click on any of them, it now lands me into this, this description, again, using that same natural language depth that we've taken, that we're building in, to be able to translate natural language into the flow definition. We're now just feeding it based on all the signals that we are picking up from your process mining, from your graph as well. And it gives me the recommendation to go ahead and build it. Yeah, so a way for you to get recommendations. Now, finally, there's one more way that we're introducing, and this is inspired by ChatGPT. A lot of us have been using ChatGPT, and we can just walk up to it and start talking to it about, look, please help me. This is the problem space, or this is what I want you to go do, and help me have a conversation with me, where at the end of that, I can be very creative with it and be able to tap into the knowledge that's there. So chat with Copilot about my idea. Now, let's say I'm a new developer, I'm a new employee, and in this case, let me say I'm a manager in the claims department. What can I do to improve my claims process efficiency? And I don't know how to express this. Yeah, I don't know when this happened, then do this. I don't have an idea for where automation could help me. And there's so much knowledge in the foundational models already, where it comes back and says, OK, great. If you're a claims process in the claims department, you're a manager, here are some ideas for you to be able to go, Control-Shift-Z, yes, to be able to go automate your processes. And these look pretty good. Automatically create a task in task management, send automated emails. Let me say this one, which is, I like those ideas. Can we do 1 and 2, please? And goes off, and now I'm having a conversation with it. Yeah, so imagine a concierge, imagine just like you're talking with ChatGPT, except in the context of automation. Yeah, that's what it wants to do. And now it's going to have a conversation with me. Great, I'm going to help you create a task and planner, and then I can go ahead. I'll say this trigger is when a new email shows up in my shared mailbox. with the title containing claim, and if the claim priority is urgent, send me a Teams message. Yeah, so every step of this conversation is helping me refine my own thinking of where automation could be useful, and I just provide that into the chat experience and the conversational understanding, then takes that context and generates a scaffolding again for automations that I can go ahead and continue to go build. Now, this is using a combination again, just like the Codex model was there. So now it's used GPT until this point, then uses a Codex model as well to go translate all the context it's got into the scaffolding. And now I can go ahead and continue building this automation. Yeah, so that's a very quick way for us to talk about authoring with AI. Let me just go back to the slide so we can just review what we've covered. Thank you. So first, what you saw was continuing innovation on Cloudflow Copilots. We'll continue to refine this. Last year at Build, we had launched Copilot for Power Automate. We're continuing with all the experiences that customers are giving to us, all the feedback they're giving to us. There are a few 100,000 folks that use this Copilot experience every month, and every week it gets slightly better. So conversational first experiences, you saw that where it is like a ChatGPT experience where it's working with us. And the second one is graph-powered automation recommendations using our own process mining technology, but applied to the data that is in your graph as well for you to get personalized recommendations. All right, so that is the way to create automations. Now imagine all of your employees or yourself are creating lots of automations. There are some that have hundreds of thousands of automations. So Christy, maybe you can walk through how do we manage and observe these automations.
Thank you. Thanks, Ash. Yeah, so every day, with more and more automations being created, there's an incredible need to have a great way to manage all of these automations. And so today, we're going to talk about a central hub that we are releasing to public preview called Automation Center. In Automation Center, you can get all sorts of insightful recommendations that allow you to take actions so that you can get to the pressing needs as soon as possible. We'll look at not only the recommendations, but throughout the page, we have different metrics, key indicators, trends, top flows, everything that you need right at your fingertips. So let's take a look at a couple of the recommendations. Here I see that work queues, which is one of the core things in managing business processes, has some SLA violations. This is something that I immediately want to know because I need to get things going back on track so I can quickly see what has been expired and get moving with that. Additionally, we have other things such as informational suggestions. Maybe I have some top flows that could be better off using work queues, or maybe I have some machines that aren't fully utilized. Additionally, we have things like looking at your capacity utilization, all of these right at your fingertips. Now let's take a look at work queues. Work queues, as I said, is something that's very core to running business processes. Here I can go into my dedicated view into work queues where I can see all the work queues I have. I can take a look at a particular work queue, and I get a filtered view of all of those metrics, all of those analytics, right about the particular work queue. Now I can see whether or not I'm within SLA. Again, key things like my requeue rate, my handling time, my throughput, all of these incredible things. And what's more is with the extensibility of the Power Platform, I'm able to create things like these adaptive cards so that I can be notified through Teams, through mobile, right when I need it. With all of these links directly there, I can take action. If I go back and look at the runs, here I see my run history. I can go and look at all the cloud flows that I have. Let's take a look at the claims, since we were looking at the claims queue. And what I see now is something that we've all been looking for, and that is the ability to look at my run and my flow end to end. Not only is it my cloud flow, but also the child flow, the desktop flow. I can see the health of my entire end-to-end workflow. It's incredible what we have here, but it's not just recommendations and insights. We've also included a Copilot. So now I can, with natural language, go in and ask questions right off the bat. let me go and say, how many flows ran yesterday? And right away, I get back an answer of how many flows was running yesterday, which was, ta-da, and it will be 814. Okay. Now, one of the other questions that I often want to ask is, what were the top failed flows? Because these are the ones that I will want to take action on. And in here, I will get, again, any question about the data that I want. I can easily go ask, and I see here, the premium calculation pipeline is where I'm having a lot of trouble. But it's not just that. If I take a look, if I want to actually not only ask a question, but I can also add the type of graph that I want. In this case, I want to see the cloud flows over the past month, every day in a bar chart form. And this will bring back the data in a nicely formatted chart for me. And with that also, I can open it in a window, I can see it, I can read it, and I provide right there the fetch XML. I can easily plug this into Power BI or any other application so that I can have this graph right where I need it. All right, so let's take a look. I noticed that the one flow that I saw was, that had failed. I'm going to go take a look and see if I can look by error type and find my failed, my failed flows. So I'm going to go back to the overview where I had the recommendation for failed flows, and I look, and right there at the top, I see the premium calculation pipeline again. Now, one of the things that we have done is to integrate just within a click, getting directly into a new feature in Cloudflows, which is a Cloudflow troubleshooting Copilot. And it brings right to me, right from the error, right from that failed run in the Automation Center, I'm able to see what has failed, and it tells me what it thinks it is. In this particular case, it was a div that I should have had an integer, but I had written it as a string. So right now, I can go in, easily edit it, and within, I can just go and update it within moments. All right, come on guy. All right, so let's just move on here. Here we go. So I just go and update it. And now, like that, I can just save it, publish it, and it's ready to go. So as we've seen across the board, if we look at all of the different areas that we have within Automation Center, not only are we bringing all of the top insights, recommendations, but also the extensibility of working within, bringing it into adaptive cards, being able to use the fetch XML to put your charts wherever you need them, and also to tightly couple, bringing you right into the troubleshooting center within Cloudflows. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ash for new ways to automate.
Thank you, Christy. All right, so what you saw was just great stuff. Yeah, the teams have been working on this for months now, and we're so excited to have you see what the conversational experience is. Really, we're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with Copilot and automation, and so excited to learn from you, to hear from you on what's working, what can be made better as well. We're in the age of AI. This is the second year. The first year was furious. We were working with quite a bit of intensity, and the second year seems like another one of those years that we're looking forward to seeing how you make magic. So for new ways of automating, so far what we've covered is internally what we call rules-based automation. Yeah, we've got Cloudflows that you say, first do this, then do this, then do this. And what we are looking to that is moving beyond that, and we'll talk about AI flows now. And to do this, we've been working with a customer called NN Group. NN Group is a large financial and insurance service provider. They are across the globe, and they have services in retirement services, in investments, in your banking, in your pensions, and insurance. And they have about 19 million customers or so. And we've been working with them very closely to understand what their business scenarios are and how can this age of AI really help them get more time for the employees so they can provide great customer experience. So with that, what we'll do is we'll talk through a scenario which is around the customer payments return process. And for now, what I'll do is I'll go in to introduce a new type of flow, which is called AI flow. Yeah, AI flow is one where I'll walk through it, and you'll start to get a sense of what it does. So let's automate with AI. Now here, what I want to do is give it a instruction on what do I want to do? What is the objective that I want it to go do, and what's the process I want it to go follow? So what I'm going to do is, because the prompts themselves get quite big, I will copy this, and then we'll walk through this in live. So you can see, let's go through this. So what it's going to do is, look, I want the LLM to go through, look at claims detail. I'll pass in claim details. And I wanted to determine if it should be approved. Yeah, I have some guidelines, and let's take a look at the guidelines themselves. And these guidelines are for the claim insurance, for automobile claim insurance. Look, I want you to verify it's by a person. I want you to verify the date of the claim itself. I want you to make sure whoever is repairing this, because we've had reports of fraudulent shops that just make money, and we want to reduce that loss for the business. So make sure that they're in the valid repairer list and they're not in the fraudulent repairer list. And I've got a list down here of precision cars, and these are all good. And I've got some untrustworthy, sketchy, deceptive, dishonest auto repairs. Yeah, if only life was so simple. But I've got this list of these customers themselves, and I've got some rules, some rules of thumb of what my policy is. And in this case, what I've got is, look, my parts limit, I have a cap of $500, and et cetera. And what I'm saying is, if the claim exceeds $1,000, it should be manual. Otherwise, it's OK. Go ahead and automate this process. So all of these guidelines, I want the LLM to be able to process. Right? LLMs are great at processing text. And instead of having people go off and really understand where does it map and what relevant section of my guidelines this applies to, what I'll switch over to is Power Automate. Now it's finished. And let's go through what it's done for us. What you see is, given these flow instructions, the flow itself, every flow has inputs that it's getting in, has outputs it can produce, so you can compose your business logic across multiple flows. So what I've got here is suggestions from Power Automate saying, hey, based on your instructions, these may be useful inputs and outputs for you to consider. So I'll say, yep, claims detail is good. The payment authorization guideline, I don't want to pass it in every time the flow runs. I want to go ahead and use references. So I'll reference the payment authorization guideline as a document, and we're automatically uploading that into our store. We're building the embedding, so you don't have to worry about the RAG part of it or the embedding part of it. It's all taken care of. Now, this I don't need anymore. For flow values, this is fine. I actually don't need these, but I can leave them alone. For outputs, yes, I do want to produce authorization decision and reasoning. So it just helps me create the definition itself. Now, let's use the payment authorization guidelines. So let's see, instead of this text, I'll go ahead and get rid of that and use this as a resource, right? Payment authorization guidelines. And these are the tokens that I'll be passing into the description itself. It has also selected a connector automatically based on my description. So there are 1,400 or so connectors available. It's picked approvals as one, and it has picked create an approval as the action from that. I can go ahead and add new actions, or I can go ahead and add any of the connectors that I've got available as well to guide it along. But it's a pretty good start. Yeah, this is the automation that it's defined as pretty good. So what I want to do now is to go ahead and preview this. Now in preview, what I'll do is I'll pass in a claim, an example of a claim that I want to see, because with LLMs, the more you get the signals of how it behaves, the better you get a feel for what it's going to do. And I'm going to take this and paste it into the automation, the claim details. So it is here, claim details, paste, and run now. Now what it's going to do is, at this point, it will go through and do its own reasoning. Yeah? So we haven't defined a cloud flow. We haven't done first do this step, then do this step. At this point, we've just left it over to the LLM. So what it's going to do is we're asking it to think, hey, what do you want to do? We're guiding it along as well in the process when it comes back with, okay, these are my thoughts. Sometimes my engineers tell me, sometimes it says, I want ice cream. Yeah, which is, no, you don't get ice cream, maybe not yet. We'll finish your job first, and then we'll talk about ice cream. But the LLMs hallucinate. And we've got a lot of controls in the system, a lot of guardrails to be able to nudge it along in its reasoning so that it does a better job of doing the reasoning. So what it's doing is it's looking at the extraction, is looking at the right parts of the document to pull out, is now saying, OK, great, so I think I need to go send an approval. Now, do I have the list of approvals, or do I need to create a new connector? Do I need to suggest to the user, because I'm still in the making studio, that I need a new connector? So in this case, probably what it's going to say is, no, create an approval. That's the right action in the connector. Then it's going to look at the schema for that connector action itself. And it's going to look at all the properties for that schema. Some of them are basic approval, or what type of approvals it is then going to say, OK, for basic approval, this is the type of information it needs. And it's creating all that on its own. Yeah, as the reasoning and the planning capabilities of LLMs improve radically this year, what you'll see is these kind of capabilities will fundamentally redefine the type of automation that you can now define with Power Automate. So here, let's take a look at what it's done. In my prompt, I had asked it to give us examples of the reasoning, give us the details about the reasoning itself. So what it said is, based on the payment authorization guidelines, the following checks was performed. Look, I looked at the claimant information, the claim date, the cost breakdowns. The part cost is 372, which is under 500. So it's being deliberate about the reasoning itself so that the approval request, so now it's asking me, hey, can I send this approval request? Because it might have selected a different connector action, but I'm in control in this making experience. So I say, yep, go ahead, use this action, go ahead and send this approval. And overall, on the approval side, what you'll see is a new approval will come in shortly, and it will contain all that information to really help me as a claims processor in this case get faster. Yeah? It's doing the processing for me instead of me having to go do this. There's the approval. I can go ahead and take a look at the approval request, and it's now, these are all the checks that it did, and I can just verify, okay, great, it makes sense, or I can dig in deeper into this claim as well. And I can go ahead and approve this. So that is a new type of flow. This is called AI flows, and we're an early adopter preview program for it. Let me just summarize what we just saw. Okay. Here, what you saw was that we are looking at we're giving the prompts to the LLM. The LLM is reasoning over it. It's figuring out what are the connectors, how to sequence those, what are the orchestration, how do you call one action, take the parameters, and call another action as well. So it's wiring all that up together. There are guardrails in place as well. I can provide them in the prompt to say, look, this is how I want you to reason. I can also limit the types of connectors. So if I have data loss prevention policies to say, no, you cannot use these connectors, then it honors those, of course. It won't bypass those hard guardrails that I've provided as well. So that is the introduction of AI flows, which is just an early adopter preview today. Now, for the, hey, yes, you can clap, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. You have no idea how hard the team has been working on this over the last few months. Thank you so much. All right, Christy, maybe we can talk about how are we redefining the desktop automation as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ash. So how many of you are still using mainframes to run some of your core business processes? According to some sources, almost 70% of Fortune 500 companies still run some core business processes on mainframes. Writing scalable automations for systems that don't have APIs and that can run in unattended mode can be a big undertaking. And so today we're super excited to talk about our multimodal Copilot for Power Automate for Desktop. With the Copilot, you can either describe what you want to build, or you can also record with Copilot. Both of these making the creation of desktop flows that much more easy. The recorder itself will take what you're sharing on your screen, your voice instruction, and build a desktop flow using AI models. So let's take a look. I'm going to start up the AI recorder. And this is going to bring up the recorder for me that I can use, and it'll walk me through the steps that I need to do. The first is just giving you an introduction to what the recorder is. Typically, for this process that I'm going to show you, I had a lot of data entry where I'd have to go and fill out each of the fields of the form. But I want to try to make this something much more magical that is automated. So let's go through. The first thing that I need to do is to decide which screen is it that I want to record, and which microphone do I want to use, because it's taking your voice. So I'm going to start this recording, and I'm going to tell it and show it what it is that I want to do. All right, what I do is I go to Claims Process Authorization. I fill out this form. By using the data in this spreadsheet, once I've filled out all of the fields with one row, I click the Submit Authorization button. And then after that, I do the same for the rest of the rows. That's it. And that's all that I needed to do. Now, this is going to take a bit to process, so we'll talk a little bit about what it is that just happened. As I mentioned, it's taking the recording itself. It's taking the voice instructions from what I had told it. It's taking the recording, the screen sharing that I did, as well as gathering metadata about the website, the structure. Taking all of this data and sending it to the GPT model so that it can reason over it. It comes back with a plan, and then it will go send it again to the GPT model to create our Power Automate desktop script. I see in this particular case we had a bit of an issue, so I would run it again, but I know that we're short on time. So I'm just going to go to an automation that actually did complete. 1 second. Let me close out of this quickly. All right. So going in, what comes back, generally speaking, it could be because of my audio here, is that it comes back as a flow that has been created for you within minutes. You see with the regions, it talks about the different main topics of what is happening in your flow. In this case, it's launching the Excel. In the next area, it's all about taking the data and it's looping through the data of that particular spreadsheet, filling out that form for me. So let me actually run through this to show you the result of that. So as you'll see here, it's going to open up. Oh my goodness gracious. It is running. Sorry, I didn't run it. It's going to run this, it's going to bring up the form, and it's going to start filling out the form for me. This is an incredible change in how we are building RPA. We're using the multimodal capabilities of GPT models, the vision, the audio, everything coming together. And not only are we able to build the automations, But one of the things that's also in our early access program is self-healing. As many of you know, UI automations have elements that move around and often break your automations. And now, using the same approach, we're able to go through, understand if something has changed while your automation is running, and suggest what is the best element that you can use. So the combination of these things are super powerful. And and so with all of this, let me go back and bring up. So what you've seen is that we have the ability now to use the multimodal Copilot to record. Whether you want to record the entire flow, you can use it also to create a portion of the flow. One of the things that I will actually show quickly, since we have a tad bit of time here, is that not only can I use the recorder, but also I'm able to, with the Copilot that's integrated, I can go and simply put in natural language, type in what I want to do. In this case, not only fill it out, but when it's done, I can send an email to confirm that all that payment has been done. And so with this, you'll see that also we're leveraging this capability as well within the Power Automate Desktop Copilot. So here you go. You can see that just like that, we've added the send email action. So both of these capabilities can be mixed and matched, really making your automation development that much faster, and also with our self-healing capabilities. So with all of that, I want to thank you. This is really, really taking RPA to a whole different level.
Yeah, thank you, Christy. Thank you. That was awesome, right? Yeah, the first time we saw it, I think it was some video that somebody had built. Hey, this is what we want to go do. And the team started trying it out. Hey, maybe this actually works. Let's continue working with it. Which model should we be using? This is before GPT-4o, where the team has been busy at work finding the right fit for where does the model run? Does it work on the desktop? Should it run in the cloud? And which model gives us the best performance? So they've been just at the frontier, really, of screen understanding, of voice understanding, of mapping it together to be able to really create our RPA automations, just redefining what's possible there. Really exciting to see. All right, so from the topics that we covered today, yeah, this is just very quickly what we've covered. The automation authoring with AI, how Copilot continues to get better. What we saw was M365 recommendations using our process mining in combination with the data in Microsoft 365. What you saw is conversational first experience, where I can have a chat just like with ChatGPT. I can have a chat with Power Automate to be able to say, look, help me understand where automation could be useful and work with me to actually build that automation itself. We saw Automation Center as well, single pane of glass for you to get end-to-end visibility on the hyper-automation platform, whether it's executing in the cloud, it's executing on the desktop, how they work together, what are the work queues, and how do you manage really reliable, resilient automations at scale for your back-end automations. And then new ways of automating. You saw AI flows, a new way of defining what the flow is, of running the flow, where the runtime is not a rules-based orchestrator. It is the LLM that's doing its own reasoning across a set of connectors you've told it about, and a set of documents you've given, where you're relying on it to do unstructured, nuanced ideation for understanding the contents and understanding what's coming in, to be able to then create recommendations and use the different connectors. You saw just groundbreaking new modalities of how you can use the latest AI models to be able to understand what you're doing so that you can translate them into automation very quickly. At the bottom is the URL, aka.ms/future of automation, where you can see a lot more details about all of these things that we've covered today. This is just a drop in the bucket, really, of Power Automate and what Power Automate can do holistically as a platform for those that are not familiar. There are many things that we didn't get a chance to talk about here, including process mining. We just hinted at it with the M365 recommendations, but there is a deep capability in Power Automate to be able to really understand what's happening, whether in the back end or whether front end for task mining as well. And then, of course, governance and observability all the way across the stack, whether it's within Automation Center, inside Power Platform Admin Center, or in the Purview experiences in Microsoft Purview portal. So we mentioned both of the capabilities for AI Flows and AI Recorder, or Record with Copilot, are available in early adopter preview. We're eager to work with a few customers. In case you're interested, this is a slide. You can take a picture of this or the QR code. This will take you to a survey, a form really for Power Platform early adopter program, and there are many teams across the Power Platform that are running early adopter programs. So you can submit which products you're most interested in. And I know we're at the end of the second day for the sessions themselves. There is session later today for working with your business process systems, with your backend systems like SAP. And how do you build automation and application around these really system of record across your business. Tomorrow, there's a couple of sessions, one around pro developers. How can pro devs and citizen developers work together? And finally, around governance as well, of how do you manage this governance at scale. So with that, we will be at the expert meetup. And we'll have to get out of here soon to give room for the next presenters to get set up. So please, if you have any questions, we'll follow up with you over there. In the meantime, thank you so much for coming. Hopefully, this is very useful for you. Thank you.